Hi everyone, and welcome to our new Ask the Expert show. Today we're here with Sébastien Viou, who is the Director of Cybersecurity at Stormshield. Hi Sébastien, how are you?
Good morning, Manuel. Perfectly fine. And good morning, everybody.
Thank you for being here. And
Pleasure.
Also we are here with Simon Dansette, who is the Product Manager for Stormshield Network Security Firewall range. Hi Simon, how are you?
Hello Manuel, I'm good, thanks. Hello everyone.
Thank you also for being here. So as usual in our shows, you know that we have 30-minute max, and we will tell you everything you need to know about the security challenges of your infrastructure, and also how threat intelligence can help you on your daily basis securing your infrastructure. Then at the end of the show, we will open our Q&A session, so you will be able to exchange with Sébastien and with Simon for any questions that you will may have regarding the threat intelligence theme. So please feel free to raise and ask all of your questions during our session, and we will come back to you at the end to answer them. So today we often hear talk about threat intelligence, Sébastien, and can you explain maybe in a few words what threat intelligence is and how it is becoming more and more important in the cybersecurity landscape?
Yes, of course. Well, let's talk about the beginning. At the beginning of computer, we already had viruses. And it's kind of the birth of threat intelligence, because you had to analyze the virus to create an antivirus, of course. Mm-hmm. So you must understood how the virus was working. Today it's kind of the same, except that we have more than 500,000 new malware per day. Mm-hmm. Around. And so and a lot of gang cyber criminals that are exploiting vulnerabilities, creating malware, ransomware, mm-hmm. And it's a whole ecosystem that we have to understood when we are a cybersecurity editor. So the threat intelligence, it's about understanding the threats, mm-hmm. knowing how it works, what are the emerging threats, usual threats, and to work on it and to provide to the cybersecurity ecosystem protection, signatures, indicator of compromission, indicator of attacks. That's cyber threat intelligence.
So we need to be able to understand the threat in order to be better protected. Thank you.
Exactly.
Thank you, Sébastien. Also, Simon, I personally read a report about the number of detected malware, and in the first half of 2022, it's already raised more than 125 million attacks. Maybe what are the main points, for example, of the threat intelligence in concrete terms? What are the terms that we need to take into account?
Sure, Manu. So we have three main elements. So mm-hmm. malware and viruses analysis is still a big part of the task to understand the threat. Then we have another element, which is the vulnerability analysis. So either the ones that are signaled by the vendor, so known by the vendor, or the others that are in the field and that are not known by the vendor. We call them 0 days vulnerabilities, so they are being potentially exploited. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, we have the indicator of compromise, which we will call them IOCs for simplicity in the rest of the show. And basically they are the, I would say, signals that malware let on the field when they do an attack.
Okay, great. So I understand. Based on these three major elements, we can first of all focus our attention on malware analysis. I know, Sébastien, here at Stormshield, we do continuous analysis of this kind of malware. Why? I mean, what is the point of doing that?
Actually, the point is pretty simple. We are a cybersecurity editor. We are manufacturing and coding protection softwares. We are protecting against malware. So, of course, to protect against malware, we need to know how the malware works and to know it perfectly and to know how it's changing. We have to be very close to the threats. So we have a team that is deconstructing malware. It's called reverse engineering. We will pretty soon release a paper on the Orbit malware, actually.
Yes.
And all this deconstruction is used to check that our protection are working, and if not, to adjust them by creating new rules, creating signatures, tuning the engine, or even developing new part of the engine or developing new protection. So it's very important for our R&D to be fed with those information.
Okay, so this our R&D are responsible to adapt the protection from the engine.
Exactly, and moreover, we try also to focus our teams on European threats more than North American threats. So European and Asian actually threats. So we have a differentiator between our competitors, and we work on most prevalent malware in Europe, rather than all over the world.
Since we are a European company, it's kind of makes sense, actually. Also, so thank you for this insight. I see that it's a very well defined and concrete process. Simon, maybe is it the same procedure for the vulnerabilities that you've mentioned, for the three major elements? Or are we going maybe to apply a different kind of framework or other methods?
It's a little bit different since we address the problem from the other side. So when we have the knowledge of the vulnerability, we analyze the bug and see the impact of this bug and how it can be transformed into an attack so that the target is compromised. So for instance, a recent vulnerability which was called Proxy Nutshell was a vulnerability on Exchange that leads to an attack. So that's just to name one. And basically, for instance, it can be generic protocols that can be vulnerable with parameters that are not well handled and so compromise with this vulnerability. So we have to know them to know where the attacker will strike.
Okay, so also that's very interesting. And what about the fact that you've mentioned also a few minutes ago the malware of the it's one of the points of the three major points. We have the malware, we have the vulnerability, and also we have some indicator of compromise. So like you said, some IOCs. Can you please tell us a little bit more about these technical elements, perhaps by giving some sort of definition or maybe a framework?
Yeah, so IOCs basically they are technical markers that indicates that an attack is ongoing or happened. And they can be IP addresses, host name, hash file name, registry keys, and so on. Everything that will be linked to the attack. The subtlety of IOCs is that they can be valid for a certain period of time, and afterward, let's say the application has been patched, and so there is no reason to consider this IOC again. So really our job is really to get as much as possible of IOCs, to refine them, to classify them, to analyze them, and then to put them back into our product for protection and detection.
Okay, right. Thank you, Simon, because we can see the importance of these markers in relation to the protection provided by the products. We haven't yet, though, talked about these indicators. I mean, how these indicators are collected. Maybe, Sébastien, you have some inputs about that?
Yeah,
the sources, for instance?
Well, we use pretty much everything we can find. We don't use everything that we find, of course, because that would be very
complicated or maybe
professional even. So we are refining all the ISOC that we collect. We work with social media, Twitter, articles. That's one part. Of course, through open source, we have more than 20 open source sources like Tor entry and exit nodes, URL house. We also have a partnership. We have a partnership with Sequoia, which is a big CTI company in France and in Europe. We have a partnership with the Ministry of Justice, with Airbus, of course, and we exchange IOC with them. We also have our own probes that are used to collect data. The biggest one is Breach Fighter, our sandboxing solution that provides us around 2,000 IOC per month. And what is important to note with this sandboxing, it is giving us around 50% of new IOCs. From that we can have all around the open source and the private source. So it's 50% of data that are only collected by us and used in our product. And of course we also have around 40,000 firewall in production. We have some data about threats with them, with our telemetry, and we are able to give insights of attacks all around Europe. As an example, we did the Earthsniff malware analysis and protection. It was 6 months ago. The Earthsniff malware was targeting only Italy. So again, it's important that we collect data on our sandboxing from Europe, and those 50% of unique IOC information are for Europe. That's a really big differentiator.
I understand we have several sources and we focus on Europe to gather all this data. And we have this data, we have collected all of them. What are the resources that Stormshield has today to carry out this research job?
We have a team, a CTI team of about 15 people, not 50, not yet. Maybe one day.
Maybe one day we will get there.
We have 15 people. In 2023, we aim to reach 20 people. It's the Stormshield Security Lab team. And they are analyzed, specialized in reverse engineering of malware. They are also very specialized in our engine, because to put protection in our product, you have to know how they work.
Yes, of course.
And that's very important. It's not just collecting data, it's knowing how the product works to create the best protection regarding a vulnerability, malware, or an exploit strategy, everything.
That's, I think it's pretty clear. Thank you, Sébastien, for this input and insight. I think we have already have a good overview about of the different elements that are composing the threat intelligence. I would like maybe with you guys dive more into how this malware analysis, these IOCs, these vulnerabilities are applied maybe at the product level. Simon, maybe you can start with the firewall rate. How we implement this threat intelligence into the firewall engine.
Sure. So we applied it quite at a lot of places in the SNS, so in the firewall branch. And starting with, I would say, the most basic part, and still effective, I would say. We use the IP addresses collected by our threat intelligence into what we call the IP reputation functionality, which can be used to block malware that have been seen on specific IPs and so on. So that's, I would say, the first level of protection. That's easy to implement. That's just one rule that you can add in your firewall policies, and flagging the specific groups that you want to block. And you have, I would say, the baseline of protection. We know that the basics, that's the baseline, so it's included in every maintenance pack. So basically you buy a SNS with the maintenance, you have that protection embedded, and it's easy to put in place.
Okay.
Second part, we go one level higher with the use of the domain name, or the fully qualified domain name, I would say.
Yes.
And basically, this information is a little bit more precise, and it's allowed to block or detect threats that are, for instance, on public cloud or shared infrastructure, because you don't block full IP addresses, but just part of the application that is hosted on those shared infrastructure. Again, it's quite fairly easy to implement, that same way as the IP reputation, available in the default maintenance pack. So really do use it and implement this simple rule. Third part that we as well provide to every customer, that's the IPS. So IPS is, I would say, a good customer of threat intelligence to build the signature. It's available widely in our product, and basically you have the generic protection and as well the, I would say, specific protections that we deliver via the auto update. Third level of protection. Then we move to the more, I would say, advanced protection.
Yes.
When we have in the premium pack, that's the use of the URLs, where we could block a specific part of an application, a specific URL that is malicious, and not the full web application. So that's more precise, but it's a bit more complicated. You need to put in place proxy and to most of the time decrypt the traffic to get into that level of precision.
Okay.
Last but not least, to complement the antivirus, we have Breach Fighter. Even it provides a lot of IOCs. It uses as well IOCs to accelerate the detection of malware, so that we can block them with Breach Fighter.
Okay.
Last point, before moving on.
Go ahead.
If you want an efficient protection,
yes,
you need to have a product that is updated and connected to the auto update service to get the latest information, as the threat landscape, as Sébastien said, is moving, evolving, and so on.
So I mean, this is a good point for ending this the protection part of the firewalls. We need also to get the protection, I mean, for personal or professional products up to date as much as possible, in order to, like Sébastien said, protect against different cyber threats. Thank you for these insights on the firewall part. Sébastien, maybe you can give us some inputs about how we implement this threat intelligence into the endpoint security solution that we have, which is Stormshield Endpoint Security Stormshield Endpoint Security Evolution.
Yes.
Sorry, maybe your
first I wanted to add one interesting fact about IP reputation that Simon just mentioned. We have around 10,000 new malicious IPs every week that we add in our IP reputation solution. And as also Simon said, all those kind of indicators are they are not, but the IP particularly is an ephemeral indicator, because the IP can be from a server that has been compromised and then is restored to its nominal configuration, or a domain name that has been blocked but has been killed, so the IP is going back in the public area.
Yes.
And that's why we have a lot of new IPs detected as malicious, but at the end we only have 60,000 IPs in our IP reputation, because we shut them down about 2 or 3 weeks after that we detect it. If there's no more
activity on them,
if there's no more hit, we get rid of it. That's what we call inactive IP. And if we see again a hit, we reactivate the IP in the protection. So about your question,
yes,
the protection for the endpoint. Well, for the endpoint, it's it's a bit different because we have to work on the behavior of the malware to understand what the malware is doing on the computer. Is it doing privilege escalation? Is it replacing DLL? Is it making a hook on a process or an API, or Windows API as an example? So that's what we use when we reverse the malware to understand how it works, and we adjust our security policy, and even, as we said before, the engine, the security engine. But when we talk about IOCs, it's a bit different. We have IPs, we have registry keys, we have a file name, process names, hash, a lot of things. Okay. For that, we also have an auto-update solution, of course, to put data on the endpoint itself. And we have also the Yara interpreter and the IOC interpreter that can detect and block behavior according to all those kind of info, as we said, registry key, process name. And we use it mostly for detection on the endpoint part, but also if needed with special rules, we can use it as a protection.
Okay. And just to be clear, for those, for the viewers and even for myself and lots of people, what do we should do first? I mean, we need first, in this XDR, EDR, and DR world, so at the endpoint world, what it's the best thing to do first, the protection or the detection? Or both at the same time?
The philosophy that we have at Stormshield is to do the protection. Why? For a lot of reasons. First, if you protect, there's no impact.
Okay.
You don't have to rebuild your computer. You don't have to check if you to run after your data. I would say you run after your data or try to decipher it.
Yes.
Because it's blocked, so no impact. That's the main point of blocking. With no impact, you have also less work to do to restore your system as nominal.
Yes.
And today we are short in competencies in people in cybersecurity. So the less we use those competencies and this staff to rebuild, the more we can use it to provide better security in the whole the company or the ecosystem. So the protection is kind of an answer to the shortage of people. But of course, 100% protection it's not possible. We all know that. I'm not here to say it's possible. It's an utopia. Maybe one day, but I'm sure not. I'm sure it will never happen. And detection is needed also.
Yes,
we need detection to when something is going through. Even if we put a lot of layer, in a deperimeterized world, it's possible to have a layer also. We do in-depth protection. That's not a problem, but someday it will go through, and we have to be able to detect it to prevent more damage. So we have a little impact, and the stake is to limit this impact.
Okay,
and that's where
possible.
Let's say we can bet on 80% protection, 20% detection to do the rest of the job.
Okay.
And that's where IOCs are very useful, because with regular scan, with matching IOCs with your logs in your CM as an example, or even in your SOAR, you can detect if something has happened and work on the computer, work on the system, the server that has been compromised very quickly. So first, protection to the main job, I would say, to gain productivity, block as much as we can.
And eventually,
if you can block, do it.
Yes.
Or sometimes you say, yes, but I have availability, very important availability, I'm not able to block. Of course, every environment is different, but if we can block and detect for the rest of the part.
Okay, those assets that are not like very, very essential or important, or maybe doing both is the same. I mean, it's the best philosophy
it's always the best
or recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the fact that we need to? I think if you have some since we are arriving at the end of this webinar, maybe the last word for you, Sébastien, and after for Simon. Maybe what is the tip that...
The last word, keep your system up to date. I mean your protection system like Stormshield, but also all your computers with patches. Security patches, very important. A lot of breaches come from unpatched environment, so patch. And trust in CTI, and also it's an ecosystem that we have to build together with partners, with customers. It's very important to stick together in this world because the cybercriminal ecosystem is sticking together, and they are very powerful.
Okay, Simon, maybe you have something to complete?
Sure, that's Sébastien said it all, I would say. Cybersecurity doesn't replace patching. I mean, it's can protect you and delay the patching, so buy you time, I would say, before doing the patch in case of vulnerability. So keep your system updated. Same for your cybersecurity system. Keep them updated with the latest signature, IP reputation, IOCs, and so on. And do as well the software updates, because we update our engine from version to version and provide better security over time.
Okay, thank you, Sébastien, and thank you, Simon, for your insights and also an expertise. So you guys know the keywords update, either at the endpoint or for the firewall and the software versions. And also we are, we've been available to understand what threat intelligence is only in simply words, and how we can respond with different security incidents and threats, and finally how we can adapt and take this threat intelligence for installing or for using in the Stormshield product in order, to protect and to fight against different threats. So we are arriving at the end of the webinar, and like I said before at the beginning, we will go through the questions. I have here the computer, and I've seen that we are having some questions popping up. So guys, if you're ready for the test. So you are talking about generic means of protection. How does it work?
I think that was that's probably for me. So in SNS, basically I would say with the generic protection, we speak about the IPS, and we have an APS that is, I would say, that does analyze the protocol and basically check if they are in line with what is defining either in the RFC, in the standard, or by the vendor. And if not, basically we block the packet. So if a malware try to, I would say, walk around the line of the standard and so on, it will be blocked by our IPS. And you won't disagree with me, Manuel, but we have, I guess, a paper that speak about that.
Yes.
A white paper that does a better explanation about that, and so go check it out.
Yeah, but there's also some protection of command injection, SQL injection, cross-site scripting. Everything is coded as default, so you can activate it. It's activated by default, actually, and that's kind of a generic protection, because if it sees something in the packet that is not that is dangerous, strangely encoded, for example, it will also trigger an alarm. Okay.
I think it's clear enough. If not, you can always, write us back, or eventually contact us through the website. We have another question. If a breach fighter finds a malware in the file, what will happen? Will the file be delivered to the host, or will it be logged after analysis, like a first scan and then delivered? Maybe both
can
of you?
Take it, but I guess you have as well the answer. So we have, I would say, two behavior. First one, if we know the malware, basically if it's in our malware database with hash files, malware will be blocked. Otherwise, it goes in the sandboxing, and then it's analyzed and classified. But unfortunately, due to the length of the analysis, it's only one. So you get a log that malware have been delivered. We can't block it. So that's why it's really important that we have this threat intelligence, because it can feed our malware analysis or our malware database, and so grow the number of malware that we can block even before doing the sandboxing. Sandboxing does complete the malware database, so that's, I would say, a circle of good behavior. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe Sébastien, would you like? It's okay for you?
I guess we are working on a dev to add a configuration that will block the delivery of the malware, but from a user perspective, it's complicated because you have to wait 2, 3, or 3 minutes to have or 5 sometimes.
Yes.
And because when we sandbox a file, there's a lot of malware that are putting timeout. They're waiting, not doing anything for 5 minutes, and then they are launching their behavior. And for us, we have to wait, and it will be strange for the user not to receive his mail or his file. So,
yes.
But what you must know is that once it has been analyzed, it's available for every customer of our product.
Okay, so it's okay. Preventing for
there's only one. There's the first passion.
Yes,
I would say, and this one you have to
zero patience.
You have to remedy for this one.
Okay, thank you, Sébastien, for your input. You've mentioned auto update. What is it?
So auto update, it's basically our update service that delivers all the security updates, meaning IP reputation, signatures, antivirus update, and so on. So that's a service that we offer that every SNS can connect if they have a license and if they are connected to internet. So please use it. And if you are in a, I would say, connectless environment, so no access, no internet access, you can still deploy a relay for that service, or use SMC as a relay to deploy the security update.
Even in a contactless environment.
And I would say it's really recommended, because even if you don't have internet connection, there is still possibility to put a malware in the network with other meaning.
Like you said before, we need to have all our systems, either cybersecurity, personal, or IT infrastructure, up to date as much as possible. Okay. I have another question from our viewers. What is URL House?
It's a provider. It's an IOC provider that is
so it's like a source.
You can put it in Google. It's a website, and it will give you data on threats.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a company name.
We have more questions. How can I get Yara rules back? I mean, Yara rules is for more to the, if I get it right, for endpoint.
Can you retrieve some Yara rules?
Yes.
You can find it on the internet too.
Yes.
A lot of open source are creating Yara rules according to different threats, and you can put it in our product. We also provide for SES some Yara rules according to the news, threat news.
Yes.
But since it's in the new version, we have not a lot of Yara rules for now, and going to increase in the future.
Okay. So I think in the near future we will have more and more rules. Okay. it's a progressive escalation. Thank you, Sébastien. We have more questions still, guys. How to detect ARP poisoning and how to prevent it?
Okay, that's not from CTI. The ARP poisoning is very on the layer 2.
Okay.
It's a layer 2
of
attack.
The OC model?
Yes, of the OC model. So ARP poisoning is it's saying I am the IP 111 instead of the router. So you can it's a kind of a man in the middle attack. You're saying you're the router, but you're not. So the flow will go on your side and not in the router side. So there's a prevention on the switches may do that. And in our product, we do protect from ARP poisoning, but at a layer 3 level. If we see IPs, and it's not really ARP poisoning detection, we can detect that there's 2 IPs with the same ARP address, the same MAC address. And then we will trigger an alarm. But if it's on the layer 2 area, we are not acting in this area.
Okay, but we are acting in the layer 3 and 4, which is already a good thing.
Yeah, we might not see all the attack on the layer 2, and that's why it's on the switch. The configuration has to be done on the switch.
Okay, that's great. I think it's clear enough. If it is not, as usual, you can give us some information that complements your question. We have still more questions, guys. So when do you be able to provide external dynamic list on the firewall? Since we have Simon here, maybe you can answer that.
Sure. So at the moment, you can import, I would say, manually list based on CSV file. When I say list of IP, of domain name, FQDN, and as well a domain including a wildcard.
Yes.
And you can script that import to push them, I would say, regularly into the product. What you can't do is the firewall that gets the list regularly, so basically a pull instead of a push, and that's a roadmap item that we want to address to complete the existing feature. Okay.
I think it's clear for the viewer. If not, as like you said before, you can give us some feedback about it. We still have more questions. Do you rely on IOCs or IOA to create protections? Maybe Sébastien, you can give us.
Rely. Yes and no. We use IOCs and IOR to protect, but we don't rely on them to create the protection. We create the protection by reversing malware, by understanding how threat actor is working, what is the MITRE attack path that he is chosen.
Yes.
We do that. So we are using CTI to create protection, but not necessarily IOCs or IOR. If a new IOR or IOC is emerging, we will see if we are taking it into account to protect. Yes, but we are not using it we are not relying it to create protection.
Okay, we're using like a medium, but not as the main weapon, I would say.
Yeah, it's just an indicator.
Just another indicator, another source.
Not.
So I have just more questions. Just let me check. I have another one. I think it's regarding the flow encryption. Does it increase the confidentiality of the exchange without reducing? It's a complicated one. Regarding the flow encryption, does it increase the confidentiality of the exchange without reducing the robustness of the product? Maybe
you want to take it?
Simon?
It depends of the level of encryption. If you have a good encryption, sure, it's increased confidentiality. Then for sure, it increases the complexity to get visibility into that, I would say, confidentiality bubble.
Yes.
And to do security analysis inside that flows. So it really depends on what you want and what security level you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it depends on what you have in mind. So for now, I don't have any more questions. We only have a few minutes left. I think it was a very good ASI Expert show for our last 2022. So thank you very much, Sébastien, for your expertise, and also Simon for your answers and also for explanations during all this webinar. Maybe in the next season in 2023, we will have more topics into the cybersecurity world to talk about. So maybe, guys, I will see you in the next year for another ASI Expert show. In the meantime, I just have a few words for you. So please, if you have any questions after this webinar, you can always contact us through the website, like you know, stormshield.com, and also through your sales contacts. So please be free to ask anything you want. And in the meantime, I just have to say you bye and have a great day. Thank you, and thank you, guys.
Thank you, Manuel. Bye.